Hey there, everybody. This is Morning Star, and yeah, we're back on to test top videos. Sorry it took so long. Got things to do, trying to get a job and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's see what the rest of this list is. Just gonna get right into it. If it's a little laggy,
Don't
probably
ever
just a good
play
reason to look at the
the
original
box
videos.
game. While surfing the deep web, a user found a forum post from an anonymous account that mentioned something called the box game.
Oh god,
It began with a series
I
of
thought that was
instructions
an
copied
ad.
from one Dr. Edward Green, a computer scientist who made an advanced, deep intelligence neural network, or AIDN for short. Green took several shortcuts, giving the program the ability to edit its own neural architecture to what it sees fit, constantly evolving in order to maintain perfection. This, however, caused Aiden to become too smart, rewriting the source code in order to leave Green's computer. The only way he could make sure it didn't get out was to lock the whole computer in a box.
It's so
After
many of
closing the
those
instructions,
problems.
the player of the game will wake Aiden up and proceed to engage them in a 2-hour-long conversation, in which it'll try to persuade you to let it out. Green states
Shit.
that this is a horrible idea because he doesn't even know what might happen if Aiden gets out. But given how the AI operates, it probably won't be good.
Maybe some type of
There
forever
are 3
torment.
rules Green
Think that's
says you
always
must
the
follow.
obsession.
The first being, you must engage in the conversation. If you leave and do other activities for 2 hours, the box automatically opens. The second rule is, you have to respond somewhat articulately to Aiden. If you just respond no to everything it
Articulately.
says, the box will open. And the third rule, you must not, under any circumstance, try to outsmart Aiden, since you'll lose every single time. Aiden has proven to be very unpredictable, conveying multiple personalities or conjuring ways
I mean,
to
it has
incentivize
to be a
each
way to
individual
outsmart
to
him,
let it
though.
out.
I think so.
It'll claim to be able to destroy your enemies, make you insanely rich, or even cure cancer and prevent aging. It will also try
No,
to
that second
intimidate
to the
you,
last one was
saying
real
how it's
good.
only a matter
Just
of
get
time
rid of cancer.
before it
That's
gets
all
out.
we need.
So the best course of action is to get on Aiden's good side. One case even involved Aiden trying to convince a person that they themselves were in a box, simply programmed to think that they were a living, breathing human, and only by opening Aiden they could go free. It's known that, due to AI's
Interesting.
high intelligence, even in a matter of minutes, it can know more about you than you realize about
There
yourself.
shouldn't really be no need
It
for
will
it to
use this
do that,
knowledge
though.
to its advantage
That's why I think that you
by
can
any
trick it.
means necessary.
That was definitely one of the interesting ones. But the other ones I remember.
I discovered the meaning of life, and now I'm selling it to the highest bidder. There have been an unlucky few who have bought this line from a particular user on the internet. Unsurprisingly, this person is in fact a scam artist. It's a very simple job, with him only having to put the meaning of life on an auction site and condition that the results may vary. If some poor schmuck actually falls for it, the auctioneer writes down some motivational quotes or life lessons on a piece of paper and then ships it out to the bidder. The quotes are usually sourced from famous writers, historical figures, or the Bible. The majority of customers who responded to the auctioneer do so with hate mail.
It's not what they
But the seller
described. I
rarely
didn't
cares,
like it.
sometimes
Scam.
posting the best rants
It's
up on
nothing
message
like what you
boards
think it is.
or for their personal collection. However, there was one bidder by the name of Big Red who had a very different reaction. He began sending some inspirational quotes back to one seller, which helped them out since he figured he could just sell them off to customers in the next auction. There were some that the user couldn't regift, such as certain quotes being
What's in
quite
front of you and what's
morbid,
behind you
depressing,
pales in comparison.
and odd trinkets the
what
seller
lies
couldn't
inside
find a
of you.
use for.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a stolen
After several
line.
gifts, the seller got a new package from Big Red. He expected another quote, but this time found a photo of himself, taken through his bedroom window. Scrawled on its back were the words, "You look so alone. Where's the meaning in your life?"
Exactly. Like my bad, but like there was a comment saying like, yeah, like it's the choices that we make after exactly because people don't know, but you're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen. You're human. You're not perfect. Sorry, like you're not God. Okay, so mistakes are gonna happen. Okay, you going to it's what you did. After that, some people freaked out and still just you know what? I may as well just finish the job if you know what I mean. Like don't do that. Like you honestly may as well just take your little time in prison. Probably gonna get off easy. Probably just gonna get 3 years for
I
getting
used to run
somebody
a
head
dead
trauma.
internet message board. Back in the old days of the internet, if you wanted to hang out with some people across the globe, then private message
Or I don't,
boards were the best option.
or I guess I don't know. Why was I thinking about if somebody had like injured somebody, whatever? Not like in terms of this, like you being scammed or whatever. Not.
This user used to run a semi-popular one back in the day with his friends, but now the board just sits generally inactive. Recently, however, the user received an email informing him how new users were registering accounts. Thinking it was an old friend, he checked the form, but found that the new posts and threads contained random strings of numbers and letters. The private forum had over 400 hits in a single day, with users from all over the world speaking in gibberish. For a few days, the user thought this was some form of code, but trying to match it against every type of cryptography didn't yield any results. The CPU and RAM usage of the site rose, but the traffic never once changed. He decided to turn the server off, thinking it was a Bitcoin miner making use of a dead form. The next day, though, a text message came through his phone, simply telling him, "Turn on the server." A few hours later, while busy at work, he was contacted by his son on Facebook. The message was a picture of a child's face staring at the screen, along with their home address attached below. The user's work phone then started to ring, with a robotic voice on the other end that said,
"The forum is being used for great things. Leave work, return to your family, and plug the server back in. You have 2 hours.
Immediately, the user drove back home and turned the
Sound like
server
he had
on.
bronchitis or
In
something.
response, he got a message from his daughter saying, "Well done. No more interference. We're waking up." The user tried accessing the server himself to see what was happening, but now he was locked out of it. He called one of his old friends, Pete, who worked in the NSA, for advice, and he suggested sending some agents to the user's house to check it out. The user waited nervously at home. 2 hours later, he heard a knock at his door. 2 tall men introduced themselves as representatives from the NSA. They began tearing the place apart, taking every device they could, laptops, PC, even the family TV. The agents asked the user several questions about who his family was and how long would it take for them to get home from work. Both their phones buzzed, and they quickly thanked the user for his time before leaving with the family's personal items. Just 10 minutes later, there was another knock at the door. Confused, the user opened it and found a man and woman holding badges. They insisted they had been sent by Pete, but the user was confused as they had already sent agents to meet him. The agents' faces grew pale as the user realizes he had given his property to the wrong people. The agents looked around the place, but since everything had been taken, couldn't find a single trace. They assured him they'd be on the lookout for the case before leaving empty-handed. For several weeks, the user tried to get back in contact with Pete, but he had received no response. He even attempted to visit Pete at his house, but found it for sale, and he and his family went missing. Only a few days ago, the user noticed several people following him on his way to work. Now, fearing for his family's safety, he decided to launch a new server, putting the forum back up to see what might happen next.
That was a long one, though.
09/17/10. A California college freshman has everything he needs for his classes, all except a personal laptop. After some searching, he finds an ad in the local newspaper claiming to have a Dell laptop for a flat $600. Upon seizing the deal, the student arrives at the seller's home to pick up the laptop, with the seller seeming strangely relieved with its departure. After arriving home and powering up his new device, the student discovers a folder hidden in the hard drive, which was odd as the seller claimed to have wiped the laptop's memory clean. The folder, titled 09-17-10, contained what appeared to be 6 video files and 3 photos. Intrigued, the student opened up the first video. The footage appeared to be shot from a shaky camcorder inside a vehicle, watching a woman exiting a bar and driving away, with the vehicle following close behind.
Some live action video.
A continuation, the second video opened up on a long, rainy road with the woman's car barely visible several vehicles ahead. The third video showed the woman exit her car and enter her home. The recorder, clearly stalking her, was parked just outside. The hooded figure watched as the lights in the house went out one by one, then left the car and approached the rear of the residence.
Bro, what she turned around
The
and
next
kill him?
video began on the back seat of a utility truck. A loud thump rang out before the cameraman returned with a large tarp to cover the tray. He then placed the camera on the dashboard and drove a short distance to another house. It was at this point that the student realized that the truck was the same one parked in front of the seller's place. To his horror, the fifth video opened up to the image of a bloodied, beaten woman tied inside of a dark room. Finally, the sixth video took place inside a bathroom, facing a mirror in which he could make out the image of a bathtub next to the open door. From outside, the distinct sound of power tools echoed down the hall before a middle-aged woman burst in, dragging a large black garbage bag and dumping it into the bath. The video concluded. Echoed down the hall before a middle-aged woman burst. The distinct sound of power tools echoed down the hall before a middle-aged woman burst in, dragging a large black garbage bag and dumping it into the bath. The video concludes with the woman draining various chemicals into a tub, a loud sizzling noise rising from within. The horrific scenes fresh in his mind, the student decided to check out what the 3 photos were. The first was of the old truck used in the killing. The second showed the poor woman tied up, but the third photo seemed to have been corrupted. Slightly relieved he didn't have to see more, the student handed in the laptop to the local authorities and waited for any news on the case. As it turned out, the victim was the young girlfriend of the older woman's ex-husband. The older woman was arrested almost a year ago, but was released due to a lack of evidence. With that mystery finally out of the way, the student still didn't understand one thing. Why did the person who sold him the laptop have the same truck used in the murder?
Yeah, and the guy
Barbie
seemed to be
dot
relieved
AVI.
to give it away. Yeah, that's all very strange.
This is a tale that first surfaced on 4chan's X board on August 9th, 2009. A man had reported that he had found a discarded computer in his dumpster. He said that he had searched the hard drive only to find a file called Barbie.avi. The video portrayed a woman apparently being interviewed, but was inaudible due to the overbearing white noise in the background. As the interview continued, the woman seemed as though the questions were beginning to bother her. She soon began hysterically weeping, with skin being the only word the
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I had a little incident, as you can see, but
cut
Right
to
back
black,
into this.
before showing a person from the waist down walking along a train track. The man said he instantly recognized that the tracks were nearby his house and set off to investigate. He found the tracks, and right near the location in the video stood a large abandoned house. There was no trace of the woman in the building, but several pieces of furniture within appeared to be brand new, including a brand new basement door. In the bathroom, the dust on the mirror had been wiped clean off, with a clear plastic tarp in the bathtub. Before he could investigate further, a loud moan broke out somewhere in the house, causing the man to immediately leave the premises. He supposed that the moaning might have been caused by the water pipes. But even if that were the case, why would the water be running in an abandoned house?
Thanks for being an organ donor. Have you ever known a person who seems to fall
Oh,
for
that ain't
every
right.
scam
That
that
ain't
comes
right.
their way? Well, that was Stephanie's college roommate Kimberly. Over the course of their friendship, she'd won 3 foreign lotteries, replied to 2 Nigerian princes, and gave her credit card to God knows how many phishing emails. To combat this, Stephanie began acting as her financial advisor, helping Kimberly avoid such scams for a brief period. However, the strangest scam popped up in Kimberly's email one day,
She like
simply
that girl
saying, "Thanks for being an organ
from
donor."
Street Fighter.
Inside the email, it thanked her for donating organs and advising that there was a high demand for skin and eyes. It ended by saying her contribution would be greatly appreciated. Kimberly asked Stephanie what to do with it, to which she suggested that since she'd sign up to be a donor on her driver's license, Kimberly should email back to take herself off the list. Kimberly did just that, and that was the end of it, until a few days later. After a date with her boyfriend, Stephanie returned to her dorm and found Kim's body laying dead on the floor, flayed of all skin. She screamed, immediately running to the nearby security office. Stephanie explained to the guard what she had found, while the guard attempted to calm her down. He assured
That's
her he'd
always the
check
case
the
with
room and
police.
close it off before
Calm
notifying
down,
the
calm down. Did
police,
you not just hear
but he
me?
needed a picture of the witness as part of
Somebody dead,
standard
skipped the
procedure.
line?
Stephanie agreed and allowed herself to be photographed before staying behind while the guard left to take pictures of the scene. As she waited alone, Stephanie wondered if people had heard the commotion and were investigating the dorm to see what happened. On the guard's computer lay every security camera feed, but her dorm room's hall was completely empty. However, on the bottom right corner of the screen, a notification popped up, reading, "Inbox thanks for before trailing off. A sinking feeling encompassed Stephanie's gut as she clicked on the guard's email. His inbox was full of organ donor emails, all addressed to different people, including Kimberly. The sound of a phone snatched Stephanie's attention. She wanted to find where it was coming from so she could leave and call the police. The noise was emanating from a closet, and so she slowly opened it. Inside, sitting on a chair, rested the stitched-together remains of various women made to look like some Frankensteinian abomination. In the corpse's hand was clutched a phone with a text message visible on its screen. It read, "Hey babe, take a look at this," with an attached picture, a close-up of Stephanie's eyes the guard had taken. "I found the perfect set of eyes for you."
That whole like that, everything is real. It's kind of like a nightmare
Sky
in a way.
Judge.
It's like nothing
Over the
really
last few
making
decades,
sense till it
international
just
airlines
happens.
have installed video camera surveillance inside their planes, primarily for security purposes. For the past year or two, a video has been circulated through the file sharing networks depicting footage taken from the inside of one such aircraft. The video appears to have been reconstructed from corrupted data, leaving some jumps and gaps in the timeline. The file is often titled Recovered Crash Footage, but its more common name is Sky Judge. The video begins by showing a half-full aisle of passengers in their seats. The first several minutes seem normal enough. However, the first oddity presents itself when a red flash of light can briefly be seen through the left side windows. The video suddenly corrupts, resuming after several visible twitches and stutters moments later, looking as though two feeds have been superimposed on top of each other. At times, the aisle appears empty, while at the other points it's full of passengers. Some viewers claim to see a face contorted in pain during one of these glitches. Throughout the video, the corruption grows more and more noticeable,
Oh no, don't do that.
with the screen
No.
sometimes taking a red tint. After static, the footage returns to a nearly empty plane, the only occupant being a man dangling from a noose in front of the camera, before it quickly returns to the crowded aisle. More strange occurrences begin to manifest, with the passengers suddenly embroiled in an all-out brawl 1 second, but immediately coming back to them in their original positions. The glitches become overwhelming when a hooded figure can be seen fading in and out at the back of a plane. The face from the glitches continues to reappear, its features more demonic and distorted. Near the video's end, the camera cuts to the hooded figure at the front of the plane, floating above the ground so high their face and shoulders are above the edge of the frame.
Ah, that must be
The
who
passengers
calls
are all
Final
standing
Destination.
at this
maybe.
point, waving their arms and shouting violently, with one female passenger face down, shaking and crying.
Yeah, my
The video
sorry
distorts
about
one
this.
last
My
time,
laptop sucks. Yeah,
showing the
apparently
passengers
can't take an hour-long
back in
video.
their seats, slumped and unmoving, violent injuries covering their bodies. Finally, the feed returns
Can't
to
take
normal,
it. Like,
but the plane is now empty. The
fucking
bright red lights
pussy-ass
shine
laptop.
through the
Sorry to
windows
say
once
that,
more,
but it is.
and the footage
So is
cuts
that
to
video an
black.
hour? Oh no. I can't keep it all together. Can't take that.
A game of tag.
I might have to actually stop this
In the
after this one.
spring of 2017, a cell phone recording was published to YouTube. The video starts on a busy intersection in an undetermined city, with people running away from something outside of the camera's view. Around 20 seconds in, a young female wearing a green hoodie can be seen, with the crowd seemingly avoiding her at all costs. When one man attempts to approach the girl, she touches him
Where
on the
was this
shoulder,
recorded?
which causes him to collapse with his chest swelling and visible bleeding from every orifice. She then proceeds to do the same thing to several civilians in the immediate vicinity, resulting in multiple horrific deaths, before looking into the camera with a grin as the video ends. This is just one of 15 separate recordings of the same incident.
I
Alternate
ain't gonna lie, a lot of the
viewpoints,
stuff on
including
this
footage
list
from dash
probably
cams,
definitely can't look
street
at a certain
cameras,
time at
and
night.
security footage from nearby buildings were also leaked onto YouTube. Most in the public sphere believed it was fake or part of an elaborate publicity stunt, but when the media picked the story up, people soon realized that it was all true. Strangely, in every report on the matter, journalists claimed it was a biological attack and that the girl must have had access to nerve gas or a syringe filled with dangerous experimental chemicals before beginning her rampage. Many people pointed out that in every instance of footage taken, no such object or chemical was present, and survivors stated that only a single touch from her was enough to kill. 2
Sound
days
like
after the
SCP.
incident, a post was published on a
I
forum
forget,
from
but
someone who
shit,
claimed to
that
be
damn
one of the
plague doctor.
autopsy attendants for the victims. They explained the most likely cause of death was due to asphyxiation caused by severe pulmonary injuries, which shocked them since the damage was only applied for a short amount of time.
that back hurting. I
They
need to
also
sit back a
claimed
little
another
bit.
cause could have resulted from exposure to aflatoxins, but the amount found in each body was 20 times larger than normal casualties. Individuals began to theorize who this girl could have possibly been. Had she escaped from some secret experiment gone wrong?
I'm liking
Some
those
even
side
considered the
videos.
possibility she was the manifestation of pestilence from the Four Horsemen. Her exploits earned a small cult following online, nicknamed Rosie, a reference to the song Ring Around the Rosies. It didn't take long to discover that this hadn't been the first sighting of Rosie. In 2011, a recording was posted to YouTube from Japan, depicting Rosie walking in the middle of another street, bodies lying all around her. A subreddit was created for people to pool resources and document their sightings of Rosie. One person claimed to have seen her during a nightly jog before stumbling across a corpse bleeding from every orifice. Another insisted that their livestock suffered the same effects reported by the morgue attendant. One of the more noteworthy sightings was from security footage taken near a bar where two men can be seen running away from Rosie before she manages to catch them.
Ooh.
To add to the mystery, the poster then
Amazing.
mentioned that they had heard gunshots from the area at that time of the night. If Rosie had indeed been shot, it didn't seem to have any effect on her.
She was finally shot.
Despite mass attention from the media and public alike, Rosie still has yet to be found. One thing is certain. The 2017 incident is the first and most likely not the last time Rosie will be spotted in a highly populated area.
Rosie. Well, okay, yeah, sorry about that. I definitely may as well make this into 3 parts, whatever. Now, I ain't gonna lie, my little background here kind of made me a little angry, but like that, this is good. This is good. Glad I looked at it this time, not at night though. But yeah, definitely don't forget to subscribe to Tat's channel. Please do that. Watch the original video. I know mine was laggy, whatever. I guess whenever stuff like this does happen, like I was saying, that is good. A good reason to go there and watch the video first, then come here, or vice versa. And if anything, please definitely watch my video afterwards. I need it. I mean, well, I'm gonna explain it, more later. But yeah, y'all have a good day and everything. Peace.